it's definitely not the set of ours, but our WREX call letters are prevented and extended. Don't know why.
That is very random.
Right? Very, very random. Unless it's because it's random.
Hey.
Hey, long time no see.
Yes. Thing here.
Good, sir, how are you?
Is everybody here? Everybody's here? Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. To my right, we have Chief O'Shea with the Rockford Police Department, and to my left, we have Sheriff Gary Caruana. We are here today to update you on some arrests that were made yesterday evening as well as this afternoon. First of all, I'll preface my comments by saying, as I have throughout the last several weeks regarding individuals who want to express their First Amendment rights, that the First Amendment is very clear. Congress shall make no law respecting and establishing religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, abridging the freedom of speech, press, the right of peaceably assemble, and the right to petition the government for grievances. And again, I always stress the right to peaceably assemble because that is exactly what the First Amendment says. In addition, the First Amendment conveys these rights on all of us, no matter what your message is. And for the past several weeks, the Sheriff's Office, the Illinois State Police, the Rockford Police Department, and other local law enforcement agencies have worked to make sure that those who have a message to convey peacefully have safe passage to do so. However, the First Amendment does not give you unbridled freedom to express your message and infringe on the rights of others. And what we saw occurring yesterday, which resulted in the arrest of several individuals on July 31st, 2020, was exactly that. We had individuals that were not peaceably assembling, but were in fact infringing on the rights of others to have free passage and safe passage on the roadways within the county. And that results in criminal behavior. And that results in individuals being charged, not for exercising their right of freedom of expression, but for committing criminal acts. At this time, I would like to go through those individuals who were first charged yesterday, July 31st, 2020. First, we have Elliot Dempsey, date of birth, April 11th, 1998. He is charged with mob action. Next, we have Larissa Walston, date of birth, April 14th, 1997. She is charged with mob action, aggravated battery on a public way, and resisting arrest. Allison Lamentia, date of birth, February 2nd, 1995, is charged with mob action. Scott Garwick, date of birth, April 22nd, 1952, is charged with the offense of mob action. Stephen Tuitt, date of birth, June 7th, 1983, is charged also with mob action. Terry Patterson, date of birth, September 10th, 1974, is charged with mob action and resisting arrest. Martha Ebner, date of birth, June 1st, 1957, charged with mob action and resisting arrest. Dylan Mitchell, date of birth, September 11th, 1993, charged with aggravated battery to a police officer, resisting arrest, as well. Dana Schultz, date of birth, December 18th, 1996, charged with aggravated assault to a police officer, resisting arrest, and aggravated battery to a police officer. William Gettings, date of birth, March 24th, 1998, charged with aggravated battery, disorderly conduct, and resisting arrest. Leslie Rolfe, September 29th, 1991, charged with mob action and obstructing a police officer. There were these individuals who were arrested on July 31st. This incident stemmed from the following. Police officers received several calls that motorists were impeded from traveling near the intersection of Water Street and East State Street. One motorist reported that the vehicle she was in with children was surrounded for several minutes by individuals who were blocking the roadway. Other motorists reported that they were impeded and not able to travel through the roadway. Once officers were able to identify the individuals who were impeding traffic and not allowing the motorists to proceed, officers attempted to make an arrest. When officers attempted to arrest those individuals, other individuals interfered with that arrest, and that is why they were also charged. Today, August 1st, 2020, there was an event held at the memorial at the Criminal Justice Center regarding police officers, and a celebration to thank officers for their service. In addition, those individuals who have been active in the community protesting police conduct were also provided a safe place to have their message during the event. So they were segregated to avoid any confrontation, and for the most part, everyone remained in their respective places. After the event ended at the Criminal Justice Center, a few of those individuals that had participated in the other venue opposite of this celebration proceeded to come on to the area where the event had been held, proceeded to remove signs, destroy signs. They were asked to not do that and to remove themselves from the area, and they refused to do so, which resulted in the arrest of 5 individuals. We have Samuel Korn, date of birth November 28, 1977, arrested for resisting and criminal damage to property. We have Anjanette Johnson, date of birth August 23, 1976, arrested for disorderly conduct and resisting arrest. We have Catherine Sneed, date of birth October 23, 1995, arrested for mob action and resisting arrest. We have Michael Riggs, date of birth March 2, 2000, charged with aggravated battery to a police officer and resisting arrest. We have Joel Cochran, date of birth December 29, 1990, charged with mob action. We have also Brendan Rabbit, date of birth March 15, 1977, charged with mob action. And so I want to be very clear in the message that I convey to the community. As I said before, individuals who peaceably assemble will be allowed to convey their message, no matter what it is, to the community, to the government. But you will not be permitted to infringe on the rights of other residents in Winnebago County, because that is where your First Amendment right ends. You will not be permitted to commit crimes against other individuals in an effort to convey your message must be conveyed in a peaceful manner, and as long as it's conveyed in a peaceful manner, I, along with law enforcement, will make sure that you have a safe vehicle to convey that message. As we did today, we provided a safe area for those individuals to convey their message. I want to thank those individuals who did abide by the parameters that were put in place. Again, the purpose being for those who have contrary messages to also convey their messages, but also to avoid conflict, to avoid officers having to intervene. Officers intervene when there is criminal conduct. That is their sworn duty to do so. They do not instigate or start the criminal conduct, but they intervene, and their sworn oath and duty is to protect those who call for assistance. That's what they did in these situations, and that's what they will continue to do. At this time, I would ask Chief O'Shea to step forward to make comments, and afterwards, Sheriff Caruana will make comments. I also would like to thank all of the other law enforcement agencies who have provided assistance to Winnebago County, that being the state police and other local law enforcement agencies, to assist us in an effort to ensure that everyone is kept safe. Those who are conveying a message, those who have a counter message, and those who are just going about their daily business in Winnebago County.
First, a comment on the protesters. Obviously, as the state's attorney said, we always allow people to peacefully protest, but the criminal actions of a few will not be tolerated. And I think the citizens of Rockford, the businesses of Rockford, have been more than patient over the last couple weeks, actually months, of tolerating people who want to push the envelope right to the end. And now they've crossed the line, and they're going to get arrested. They're going to keep getting arrested when they break the law. The citizens and the businesses in Rockford deserve much better, and they deserve to have the right to drive down the roads and conduct business and not have to worry about people coming in and just trying to scream and yell and cause chaos and start and incite riots. It's just not tolerated. Huge thanks to the county sheriff, the state police, Loves Park, the Park District. As always, all the law enforcement agencies work together in unison. Very, very appreciative. Our federal partners actually help us out on occasion as well in some of these instances, so I got to throw a shout out to them. But the men and women of the Rockford Police, the County Sheriff Department, the state troopers show tremendous restraint with some actions that most people probably wouldn't tolerate in their normal lives. And the cops have done a great job of using very good restraint and professionalism, and I commend them tremendously. So with that, I'll let the sheriff speak.
Good afternoon. Pretty much mirroring what the State Attorney Marilyn Hyde-Ross said and Chief Dan O'Shea. You have the right to protest, and we're not disputing that. But the second that becomes unlawful, blocking cars, screaming at people, where it turns into criminal, that's where we're going to engage. I know that Chief O'Shea reiterated, and I'm going to continue to say we have a great team. We're going to back each other up, and we're going to stop this situation from happening. Last night I want to comment on one of the situations where one of my off-duty, well actually it was in plain clothes, deputy's wife was trapped for a half hour, 45 minutes with one of the protesters with a megaphone, screaming in the window, giving her the finger, totally irresponsible action. She would not stop. At that point, he came to her assistance and said he was a law enforcement officer and that she was under arrest. We viewed some videotapes. At this point, we don't see any violations at all. He did everything that he had to do to conduct the arrest lawfully. So I just want to make sure that any of that type of situation, whether it's in the city or county, the sheriff's office is going to be there to assist wherever it's at. As long as it stays peaceful, we're fine. I have no problem. When it crosses that line into criminal, then we're going to engage, and that's just the end of the story. It's as simple as that. We want you to have your voice heard, but we want you to do it lawfully. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief O'Shea and Sheriff Caruana. And again, I want the community to know that the message of the peaceful individuals is being heard, and they are welcome to engage with all of us to discuss solutions that they may have. We are ready, willing, and able to engage these individuals, but at some point, you have to be willing to engage and engage in dialogue with those who you have a grievance against. And that is what the First Amendment is all about, to petition the government to redress your grievances. And we are all of us up here are ready, willing, and able to do that. The sheriff and I participated in a forum last week where were available virtually to answer any questions regarding sheriff's protocol, regarding my protocol, and we only had a few people that called in to ask questions. So I just want the community to know that we are available. I know the sheriff is going to be scheduling another one of those hearings, and again, we want the community to know that law enforcement is here to protect your message, but also to protect everyone else so that they are not harmed by individuals conveying their message. Any other questions that we're able to answer?
State's Attorney, I do have a question for you about the not peaceably assembling. For weeks we've seen this group rally in that same spot in downtown Rockford and disrupt traffic. What was different yesterday that required arrests versus the previous times they protested there?
Well, what I will say is that when my office is contacted and a crime has been committed, we do file charges. So that's my response.
Okay, so it's permissible for them to march in the streets and in some cases lie down in intersections and block traffic temporarily. That's okay, that's not against the law?
Okay, so is your question regarding when
Well,
several
again,
weeks ago?
Okay. Pardon me, Marilyn. Today, Mr. Rolfe said that if yesterday the blocking traffic was mob action, then what about all of the events of the last month or so? How is it different?
Okay, so I will be happy to answer how that is different. As I indicated in the beginning of my comments, I have worked with law enforcement to make sure that there was a safe way for individuals to convey their message. We were aware that the individuals wanted to march in certain areas. We were aware that individuals wanted to honor the memory of Mr. Floyd by, for 8 minutes and 45 seconds, laying into the roadway. We permitted them to do so. We rerouted traffic at those times. So we were allowing them to convey that message at that time. Okay. Yesterday, regarding impediment of traffic, individuals were advised prior to any arrests being made that they needed to disperse. They did not disperse and impeded traffic. So that is the difference. And I share that with you because, again, I understand as state's attorney, and both the sheriff and the chief understand, individuals have a message and they want to convey that message. We were not arresting individuals at that time. We had a plan to divert traffic, to divert motorists so that if individuals had an emergency, they had a route to do that, and they were only going to lay down for 8 minutes and 45 seconds, which they did, and then they got up and then they moved on. So that was very different than what happened yesterday. So if individuals are saying, why wasn't I charged? Because the state's attorney has discretion. And the state's attorney believed that you had a message to convey, and the state's attorney wanted all of them to be able to convey that message, as well as Chief O'Shea and Sheriff Caruana, and we allowed them to express themselves for that short period of time in the roadway.
But also those people weren't arrested in the roadway, and they were arrested yesterday. So was it the state's attorney who was telling officers not to arrest people in those other instances?
What I indicated was we knew that they wanted to lay down in the roadway, so we did divert traffic. The difference between that and yesterday is that there was no diverting of traffic. So unexpected motorists just kind of drove through, and all of a sudden they were not allowed to continue.
So to follow through with that, the group did say on Wednesday that they planned to do that. They were going to disrupt City Market. They planned to march. And again, they had been doing it for previous Fridays. So why not divert the traffic? Why not say, okay, we know they're going to be there and we'll divert the traffic then?
Because there, first of all, my understanding is there was no city market taking place yesterday. And in addition is that you're not going to block the roadways for no purpose. That was, in my opinion, not a purpose, to just block the street. When you wanted to express yourself several weeks ago, we allowed you to do that, but we have moved on from that, and we have given you warning that you will not be allowed to do that anymore. They were given a warning to disperse by law enforcement, and they did not do that. So it wasn't like law enforcement just appeared and arrested them. Law enforcement always gives a warning, and they were asked several times to disperse. Law enforcement is responding to motorists in distress who are surrounded, and they refuse to disperse.
What is the bond range for the people who have been arrested the last 2 days, and when can they bond out?
Well, for those charged with misdemeanors, basically most misdemeanors other than domestic violence cases are usually released on an I bond. Prior to that, prior to June 1st, I believe, we were giving notices to appear, which means they weren't detained at all in the Winnebago County Jail. So I don't have all of their bonds, but their bonds are set by statute because of the nature of the misdemeanor, and those who have not bonded out will have their bond reviewed if they in fact were detained by the court.
Marilyn, what's your message to the protesters who are committed to continuing their demonstrations this summer and fall?
Well, my message is very clear. You are permitted to demonstrate, but you must do it peacefully. You cannot threaten or impede or obstruct traffic in motorists who are trying to go about their business. And again, law enforcement is here to work with you, but it takes two to work together, and both sides have to be willing to engage. I know that the Sheriff's Office as well as Rockford City has attempted to engage, and I'll say these individuals because the majority of individuals who have been in the community expressing a message, they have not been arrested because they have expressed that message in a peaceful manner.
Sheriff, I also had a question for you about the plainclothes incident. You mentioned that one person in plainclothes does work for the Sheriff's Department, but we saw in video 2 people in plainclothes assisting in arrests. Who is the second person?
That's his son.
Is he an officer?
No.
Is that legal? Is that acceptable for him to assist in arrests with the department?
Sure, if we asked him to, yeah.
So he was asked to assist?
I don't know, I didn't
in
see, I didn't hear any of the audio on that. But yeah, absolutely.
So
She was trying to get away. She was charged with, I think, aggravated battery. And yeah, absolutely.
So I just want to clarify, because I want to make sure I understand. So it was a plainclothes officer, sworn official.
Yes.
He asked his son then to assist in arresting a suspect.
And Christine, to clarify, I told you I didn't hear the audio.
Well, that's why I don't, but if
Yeah.
you're saying that's the only reason it can be okay,
Now, I'm not saying that's the only reason I'm going to be okay. He could have asked his son to help. Maybe his son did help. Period.
I'm still confused. I'm sorry. So if the son was not asked to
Right.
help and he assisted in an arrest,
Okay.
that's okay.
Right. He stopped her. He physically stopped her from running away. That's
Right.
okay. That's okay if he physically stopped her from running away. He did not hurt her. He physically stopped her from running away for the Rockford police officer to obtain control over her.
And to play devil's advocate, Sharon, there were
Sure.
multiple officers there, and from what we can see in the video, I don't see any indication of her trying to run.
She was.
I-
She was.
Okay.
Absolutely. I saw my officer actually holding on to her, and when another Rockford City officer, not recognizing him because he was in plain clothes, he said, "Let go of her." He immediately let go of her. And then he explained to her, and then they re-engaged with her. The son was there and tried to help block her. So she wouldn't go for the actions that she did.
And just to clarify, this was last night on East State Street?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'm going to make
Yeah, go ahead.
a couple quick comments. Two things. The roadway, to what Marilyn was talking about, blocking roadways, you know, it's a two-way street, no pun intended, but we want motorists to be able to travel down the roadway safely. But I think we've all seen videos, international or national videos, where motorists and citizens, if you will, normal people driving down the roadways, if you will, are getting fed up and tired, and all of a sudden we have protesters being run over or gunfire erupts, and we don't want that here in the city of Rockford. We want the peaceful protests, we want to allow them their space, but we don't want them in the roadways. We're going to end up with a road rage incident, we're going to end up with people getting blocked in, we're going to end up with the situations we had last night. So again, it's a plea to people, stay out of the roadways, peacefully protest, do your thing, we're good with that, but you got to be out of the roadways. And then, in second, with the sheriff's, you know, I'll throw it out there as a father, and if my son, I'll use myself as an example, if his mom was being harassed or detained or felt like she was going to get assaulted, I'm pretty sure my son would step up too. Whether or not he's directed by a law enforcement officer or not, that's a son worrying about his mother. And I'm not sure anybody else can put it any other way. Somebody's mom is being assaulted, I think that son is going to step up and do what he needs to do.
Does that set a dangerous precedent, though, for the public, that if they want to get involved, if an arrest is happening, that they can?
I'm going to just say that the laws in Illinois do allow citizens to assist officers in making arrests. So that is Illinois law. It has been in place for several years, decades. In addition, we have situations like this that occur all the time. Usually it's when there is a vehicle crash and the driver of that vehicle attempts to run away. We have witnesses or other motorists that might get out of that vehicle and detain that person till law enforcement comes on the scene. So I just want to make it clear that this is not something new, that you often have citizens who are directed or not directed assisting law enforcement, and they are permitted to do so under Illinois law.
And Chief O'Shea, I want to clarify one thing you said earlier about this time it went too far. Can you explain specifically what about the last 2 days went too far?
Well, I think it's common sense. I won't comment on particular arrests or cases because they all have got trials coming up. But when you start impeding on the general public, as I said, I think the citizens of Rockford and the businesses of Rockford have been very, very patient. And going off what the state's attorney said earlier, people had a message in the beginning when this all occurred with George Floyd. And we've given a lot of space. We've protected the protest groups. Us, the sheriff, the state police, have escorted them throughout the city. I'll say weeks, but I think it's been actually 2 months, where we have done everything we can do to provide peaceful protesters the right and access to go around throughout the city and spread their message. But I think now that we are getting to the point where, I don't want to say the word, I'll use the word carefully, getting much more militant or much more bringing it to the edge of violence, and we can't have that. People are going to get hurt, and we don't want citizens getting hurt, we don't want business owners to get hurt. Quite honestly, we don't want the protesters getting hurt. We want everyone to remain safe, but you get to a point and then you push the threshold, and it's a flashpoint. And I think most of you were out at the rally today, and everything was fine. And then there's an incident afterwards, and things, I believe one of the reporters was saying, I don't know what just happened, it happened so fast, and there's a flashpoint. And we try and avoid that. And that's our goal, and that's what I mean by too far.
And what are your concerns right now for the relationship with departments, both yours, the Sheriff's Department, State's Attorney's Office, with the public right now? Are you concerned that tension is growing?
I don't have any concerns with our departments or the State's Attorney's Office at all. I think we all work real well together. I know I talk to a lot of citizens and a lot of business owners every day, dozens upon dozens, and they are very, very frustrated. They feel that we have reached a point where people have said their message, but these are tough economic times to begin with, and now we're impeding on business owners to make money in a very tough time with the pandemic. That causes more stress on their end. There's a lot of stressors from both sides, and that's when you get to flashpoints, and we are trying to keep it from getting there, and that's why we are moving in the direction we're moving. But we always explain to people, you're committing a crime, you need to disperse, this is no longer a lawful assembly. They're given warning after warning after warning, and then once they're given the warnings, that's it. They're gonna face criminal charges. Yes, sir.
Chief and Sheriff, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Were any officers hurt yesterday or today? Any incidents?
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
I had one of my, excuse me, I had one of my officers hurt today, this afternoon. So 2 of my officers, I'm sorry.
Two of your
What kind of
officers were
injuries?
injured?
Yes,
What types of injuries?
minor injuries, but they were still hurt, you know, scraped knees, torn pants, elbows.
Chief, any of your officers hurt in the last 2 days?
Not that I'm aware of, but I haven't been told at this point.
Is there a plan to increase police presence at any of these demonstrations moving forward?
You know, we plan accordingly ourselves, along with the local and then the county and the state. We always are planning based on what we think will happen or how many people we believe will have, either protest or counter-protest or rallies. We just, it's a game-by-game, day-by-day decision. We just try and judge it from there. Any others?
Ken, you had a question?
So after last night's incident on State Street and then today's incident in the aftermath of the Back the Blue rally, are these instances things that you evaluate on in terms of response, what went right, what went wrong, et cetera?
Yeah, we always talk about ourselves and the other agencies, always review what we're doing, and we try and make sure that we either do it right that time or right the next time. We are always looking to make it go without violence. We don't want to use force, be very clear on that. We're trying to stay away from that as at all possible, but every time we react to people's actions. We are not aggressive in any manner. We always, again, like I said, we give warnings, but then how people determine how they want to act and respond to be given lawful orders, that measures our response, and it goes up and down every day, every minute of every instant. All right? Any others? Thanks.
Any other questions from anyone? Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.